once talked to a gentleman who spent some time in prison, and I'm not going to say the crime that he committed, but when he was um, in the hall, the lunch hall, I don't know if they call it what would they call it, or the chow hall or whatever, and he was having, I guess, his lunch, maybe breakfast. I don't remember what it was, but there was cornbread with that. There was other meals, and a bigger man sat down and said, "Do you want your cornbread?" And he could have said yes, but that guy had the potential to knock his teeth out. And then he still wouldn't have the cornbread, and he would lose his teeth. So he said, "Not really. You can have it." I'm putting that illustration in. The fact is sometimes it's not what's right, but I mean who's right, but what's right for that situation. Freedom of speech is a right, but that right can come with consequences. It doesn't mean that they won't, that people will not break the law in order to stop you saying things that they disagree with. There are certain truths that people don't want to hear. I also wanted to mention that my last show, Howard said that I misspoke when I claimed that the Second Amendment gives us the right. Uh, when will he correct the record? And I'll correct it now. He said that it's not a right, it's a privilege, I believe. And I could be wrong on that. And I still believe to a degree that the right, people have said the right to bear arms, the, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. I don't want to read the Second Amendment. And he said even lawyers have this wrong. And I've been hearing the right to bear arms. But he states it, I believe, as a privilege. It is a privilege to bear arms. And I was looking at some of the debates, and one guy said it best. Someone was debating that when he brought a gun, he was provoking the crowd. So the crowd is provoked by the Second Amendment. The right to bear and carry arms, or the privilege to carry arms, is enough to provoke people into breaking the law and doing harm. Which is, if you do someone harm that isn't regarded with self-defense, it is breaking the law. And the lawbreakers, people are protesting for the lawbreakers, not the people working within the framework of the law. But again, a lot of these people do not necessarily want to hear or discuss anything you have to say. They don't believe in your due process. And many of these people control a lot of institutions. I don't necessarily know what one can do in order to mount a successful defense, because how much power these individuals have, it's not very clear. I know that they have a lot of power, but is that power even penetrable? And you hear a lot of different things. I mean, CNN gets low ratings and they make mistake after mistake, and they give views that are oftentimes very unpopular. You look at some of the uh, some of the shows they do. The ratio is very much downvoted by the public, yet they are funded, and perhaps they are funded by um, by groups like someone. I mean, Mark Levin said that they are funded by AT&T, is and they are a worldwide organization. So sometimes you have to fight intelligently, and how you do that. And then in your own personal life, sometimes you're left with a no-win situation, and how you handle it will say a lot about your character. I remember at one of my jobs, they they put me in a position. They put the employers working at this position. Um, they had written the software in such a way, or actually the program in such a way that it made it much more complex than when it had to be. And to do certain things, you had to do kind of a rigmarole for the customers. And when they were doing this, they were thinking primarily of the customers, but they were not thinking of the workers behind that situation. And that, to me, was an unreasonable thing that they did. It was not in foresight, and I was very angry about that, because I thought I felt treated, and other employers also felt treated very unfairly when that situation came into play. And it made me realize that sometimes I have to be more vocal about my work, and not in an angry way, but I got to say, this is going to cause stress in the situation. But yeah, and I always strive to have, good conflict resolution. Sometimes I have to tell people things that they don't want to hear. And I always, people have told me, like, because I'll tell customers sometimes I'm really sorry, and there are people who said, don't be sorry. I remember one of my coworkers said, "Don't be sorry," and I said to them, I am sorry for this happening. I do feel for them, because I'm putting them at an inconvenience at this time. So I'm going to say, man, I'm really sorry. I know you want to do this, but our rules and instructions are this. And there are people that don't like saying I'm sorry. They just like telling them the rule. And that's the rule. It's not necessarily good customer service. People want individuals to kind of empathize with them as a human being. They want to hear from them on a human level. And we're in a situation where people are not necessarily seeing your side or your humanity or what you're going through. Human beings have uh, primal instincts, and only one group is not allowed to have primal instincts. And it's about vendetta of things in the past and their view of the past. So they want to punish you. It's what it looks like, anyway. And they don't believe in due process for you. Um, they don't believe in debate. They believe in compliance. And what can you do? If they have power, what can you do? Um, they'll say that they don't believe in violence, but people will commit violence against you and or threaten you, or if you are to go up onto a college campus, they will threaten anyone who listens to you and threaten with economic. The first thing they'll do is uh, a form of economic terrorism. They'll threaten to economically cripple the person that that even speaks to you or even listens to you. Is that really a free society? When people can commit psychological warfare on you, and you kind of know that what they're saying is nonsense. I was watching a video of a woman after the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and she was she had an American flag over her thing. She was a light skinned black woman. She may have even been mixed, but she was saying "F America" and something of that. And then I think she put the thing over, and she had a fake seizure. And how can you deal with someone like that? Is that really a reasonable, rational person? People that scream white silence is violence? Is that a rational, reasonable person? And then people that say your speech is violence. Is that really a rational, reasonable person? Speech is violence? Ideas are violence? The Second Amendment is provoking people? That's kind of the belief. Kind of silly. But I guess there are people that believe that think that the Second Amendment, that white silence is violence, and that speech that goes against their narrative is also violence. You have to speak in the right way. So you're being forced to say things that you may not necessarily believe in. At least that's what it looks like to be. And I've dealt with people who have mental illness. And a lot of times, again, they lack, and I think a lot of people in these organizations and groups seem to have be some form of mental illness or personality disorder. It's almost like a lot of them are narcissists, and there are those who are basically supporting the narcissist, the egotist at best, narcissist at worst. I guess uh, uh, someone coined the phrase "flying monkeys." They're the ones that help. The wicked witch. I think it's the Wicked Witch. They had the flying monkeys that help the narcissist, and that's what like the people are that help. That are in the BLM movement. A lot of the whites. they are helping the narcissist. And they will defend that narcissist with everything they have. And there is no rhyme or, there is no listening to reason. They want to shut you down. I mean, like you look at Stefan Molyneux, he never really encouraged any kind of violence, yet they shut him down. Tariq Nasheed and in many parts of the Hebrew Israelites often talk about violence and a lot of psychological nastiness getting in there. They've Tariq Nasheed has tweeted out violence when it comes to what he believes to be police brutality, that they should try to stop it if they observe it. It's not considered dangerous when the police are doing in the actions of arresting somebody. If they think it is brutal, that they should act upon that form of vigilantism. Yet a man that's being attacked cannot defend himself. And the Second Amendment, someone exercising their Second Amendment privileges or rights, that is provocation for violence. Yeah, we're seeing a world right now that seems to be upside down, and these people do have a lot of power. I don't think that these people have they don't have, their ideas are not popular, but they have power behind their ideas. I want to say hello to Darren. But again, if you go to the ADL, they have removed their like to dislike ratio because they know that their ideas are not popular, and they will oftentimes not debate their ideas. And I think they should be brought before Congress because they are the people who are the ones that are pushing censorship, and they push it in one direction. And Darren says the support isn't there. And I wonder what he means. And you know what? Let's see. I have a little bit of time. I'm going to bring him on if Darren wants to come on, because the support isn't there is rotten house will sue. Oh, written. Yeah. Rittenhouse perhaps will sue, and that might bring the one thing it might bring is things to light when he does sue, and continue. And again, there are people that are brainwashed, and these brainwashed people, a lot of them do have power. And again, they do not believe in any kind of due process for you. They don't believe in your right to speak. And teachers, before they get fired, have a rigorous kind of due process. But there are many employers that don't, and there are people that try to get you fired. Ooh, that I want to mention. So the guy with the now I can't even, the Covington kids. Nick Sandman really got $250 million. He said the guy with the Indian dude that attacked him, hot $150 million, and that's Nick Sandman, who the Indian approached him after he was being assaulted by the Hebrew Israelites. And I haven't invited you on, but yeah, that's something, and that's good to know that kind of defamation There is punishment, but who knows if that's just a drop in the bucket for these guys. I'm surprised that CNN is still around, but I hear that they have money regardless of their ratings. That there are companies that fund them, and they are ideologically down with what they're saying. So, and this company, these phone companies, some of them, there is nowhere else to go. China is the only place to go for these companies. We are still, like it or not, dependent on China for a lot of our products. You can't overnight decide to be free of that. It's just the way it is, whether you like it or not. And Darren asked me an interesting question: who is worse, CNN or MSNBC? To me, CNN is worse because MSNBC is it is broadcast as a liberal, a progressive, left-leaning broadcast. CNN is not. They are considered neutral, and they're not acting neutral. Yeah, Bill Maher, to a degree, somewhat of a free thinker, but Bill Maher also has kind of woke positions as well, to a point. And he believes things that aren't necessarily thought out very much. But yeah, and at least he has people on. I mean, he had the debate between he had the debate between Shapiro and Nance. And Nance has proven himself to be a far leftist ideologue. And he was the one who, one of the people behind stopping the investigation into the murder of white South African farmers. Just because, like I said, there are white racists, who are behind that. And yeah, well, the Young Turks, and he talks about this. The Young Turks changed their mind. Anna Kasparian, because she never looked at the tape. She never looks at other people's points of view. And this is something that is so clear cut. This is something that is so clear cut that, like if you look at it, then you have to decide otherwise. But, she's defamed a lot of people for no good reason. She defamed, and she'll still continue to defame her former coworker, Dave Rubin. And the like. I would love to see her and Dave Rubin do a show together and say what she says about him, and then have him have rebuttal. Put it up to its bootstraps for the public to see, but I doubt she'll do that. She should go on the show, or they should at least have a debate. Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, 12 jurors found Rittenhouse not guilty on all counts. And I guess that accounts for something, But even if he's not guilty, what can you do? I mean, there are still people that are angry about the situation, but the majority of Americans disagree with the people, and even Democrats disagree with the people who think he was guilty. Uh, God, I can't even remember her name. It'll come back to me, but uh, there have been former Democratic senators. Let me see. I can't even remember. The Hawaiian, I believe she's a Hawaiian senator. She ran for president. She even said that it was a good thing that he was found not guilty. So there are people that have common sense, and this is against the people with common sense to the people without common sense. And you don't have to react. I mean, part of me wants to react very angrily at them and give them a dose of brutal honesty. But another part just wants to more talk to the people who know that this is happening and really expose like just how crazy these people are and who are the people that are funding Tulsi Gabbard. Thank you. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard spoke about um, Kyle Rittenhouse's innocence. And again, there is common sense out there. And to get to that common sense, I mean, again, you have to have freedom of speech. To get to common sense, you're going to have freedom of speech because, and you're going to have things that are heard that are not very pleasant. Because everybody says things that other people consider goofy or crazy. And you cannot be arbitrary when it comes. I don't believe that you can be arbitrary when it comes to hate speech. Or at least they're not arbitrary. Because they allow one group to say whatever they want. And that really is a denial of my 14th Amendment rights. Equal protection under the law. If it's only white people, because white supremacy, which seems like a made-up word, if white supremacy is believed and it's white supremacist speech, I guess if there's no such thing as black supremacist speech, and they can say almost the same exact things, and even worse, that's not giving me equal protection. That's a way of not having equal protection under the law. And these people are not interested in equal protection under the law, and they're not interested in facts. Again, they allow the word Karen to be brought up. There's a guy named Dr. Rashad Ritchie, and he has an episode called I Wish a Karen Would. There was an author, Colin Flaherty. He talked about black on white mob violence and showing actual, both were showing actual videos of footage of behavior. Colin Flaherty called it the fellas. And he got booted off of YouTube. Dr. Rashad Ritchie is allowed on YouTube. The same thing with Tariq Nasheed. He's allowed on YouTube, but Colin Flaherty and Stefan Molyneux, they all got to go because they've said things that the establishment doesn't like, that has more of a problem with that. And these people have never called for violence. These others, particularly Tariq Nasheed, has had calls for violence, but nothing happens to him. So you got to realize sometimes that the deck is stacked against you. The media tries to manipulate and use African. I think partially agree with that. But again, this is an ego thing. So many blacks in this country, ego victimhood And if you attack that or tell them a different side of the story, they're going to feel that you are attacking their persona, their person. And they're going to take that very personally. And the left also, they feel like when you are using your words that go against their words, they feel that you are attacking them personally. They feel the words that you are using for them is considered violence. Silence is violence, and speech is violence to them. And that's not a rational place. These are not rational people. And people that believe that are not rational. And the media tends to kiss up and and they'll embellish and they'll do all kinds of things, and we're not getting to any source of reality. And then, of course, a lot of people get angry with it, and then their anger, they will distort reality with anger as well. So the side that is correct and powerless, the best way to deal with it is to say hard truths, but not with a sense of anger. The anger is there, but again, you have to control that. Like a boxer or like a martial artist, you have to control that because you're in with a bigger opponent. And if you just get angry, you're going to leave yourself open to their attack, and then you're going to be finished. This has happened time and time again where people are arguing with people, they get angry, and they are controlled by their anger, and then the repercussions of their anger puts them in a far worse place, and it also puts their argument in a far worse place. So people have to control their anger, or they have to manage their anger. By nature, you're going to be angry when you hear absurd things and you see things that are unfair. That's human nature. It's how you respond to that. And again, there may be clear ramifications to that. Even then, people may be unreasonable. But at the end of the day, on average, more people will be on your side if you handle things without showing that much aggression and anger. You can fight back, but fight back using being as rational and even as you can. Now, if it gets to a physical level, all bets are off. But until that time, be rational and try not to provoke people. Because when you try to hit, sometimes even trying to hit them back, go back to the subject at hand and don't make it personal. Anyway, this has been Brian with Transparency and Merit. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Thank you for listening.